Hello, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Eiderstein. Thank y'all for joining me today as we go through the newest chapter, or the next chapter in I Was a Pagan by V.C. Kitchen. We're going to be reading chapter 10 today, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you want to go ahead and give us a like or a subscribe on the YouTube channel, or go follow us on Facebook, that would be great. We also have a Spotify channel and a Apple Music channel or Apple Podcast channel. So check us out there. I appreciate all the support and the comments. It's been fantastic lately. So, thanks for following along with us. So I will be reading out of this version today. This was one of the originals from 1934, it seems like. This is as close as I can get, at least, if not an original. There's no real way to tell right now, or at least not that I know of. And then you might be able to follow along in this copy if you get one. You can get them on Amazon. This is a facsimile reprint of the same book. Just one that you probably wouldn't feel bad about actually writing in or highlighting in. So I suggest getting one of these. That's why I have two. So let's go ahead and get to it. So we are reading chapter 10, which is this business of starting in school again. Education. No sooner had I surrendered my life to God than I found myself starting school again. That's the truth. I found that I had missed in my own education 20 or more years ago. I found what I had missed in my own education 20 or more years ago. I found what many educators are missing today. Education, I had always thought, is or should be a preparation for the business of life. What I did not see, however, was the threefold nature of this business. I did not see that we are living not only to survive or to get along in the physical universe, but also to get along with other people and to get along with God. I saw only the survival part. I wanted to get along in the physical universe with the greatest glory to myself and the greatest financial gain. And since this is all that most people see and want, since schools cannot run without people to go to them, this getting along in the physical world is all that many schools elect to teach. If there was any school which could have taught me to engineer, write, or advertise by moral means for moral motives, if there was any institute which controlled its practical technique by means of spiritual technique, I either missed the lesson, or missed finding that school. I learned to engineer, write, advertise, but for self rather than for God. And I did not, at that time, try to educate myself even with a view to helping other people. Had I, in fact, made social service my main aim in life, I had subscribed wholly to the humanistic rather than the egoistic scheme. I still am at a loss to know where I might have gone to school. Contacts with other people, with parents, teachers, pals, business associates, publicists, and with oneself, make up the main part of the business of living. Yet nowhere did I find a preparation for it. My course in technology, frankly, made no attempt to deal with human relations. My course in journalism, with its much wider range of cultural subjects, taught me to live in a world of books, but taught me nothing about people except, perhaps, rather to look down on those with less education. My courses in advertising taught me how to take advantage of human nature, the psychology of twisting where the hair is short until purchasers would come across with the almighty dollar. From club life and other extracurricular activities, I learned little but snobbery. Out in life and the school of experience, I fared no better, for here I had no teacher but human greed on one hand and the restraint of law on the other. I learned how to get the better of the other fellow without having my friends shun me or having to go to jail for it. Even then, a little later, I turned more seriously and directly to the study of social, sociology itself. I found nothing but an utterly inadequate attempt to control character, happiness, and progress through control of family, antecedents, systems of government, systems of education, systems of economics, or social environment. Nowhere did I find how to teach the man himself and his real inner problems. Nowhere did I find how to deal with people redemptively and creatively as Jesus. I would have dealt with them, creatively as Jesus would have dealt with them. Nowhere did I find even the birth of a real wish to do so. An educated man without Christ at his center is, as I now know, like a ship loaded with valuable cargo, but not going anywhere, or else headed the more certainly and swiftly for destruction. In my own educational career, I had attended something like 8 preparatory schools and 4 colleges and universities. I had read many books. A book a day was once my standard. I had engaged in research work. In some of the world's finest libraries. I had attended learned lectures. I had seen, taken part in, or produced a wide variety of plays. I had delivered myself or written for others a considerable number of orations. Through 20 years of advertising work, I had been in direct touch with almost every known branch of industry, finance, and professional endeavor. I had helped to sell tiny vials of imported perfume in an entire industrial city. I had ridden freight locomotives and marketed Rolls Royces. I had been in debt and seen balmy days. I had pub crawled from one riverfront saloon to another and lived with millionaires. I had associated with harlots and with nobility. I had sampled almost everything there was to sample in the physical, sensual, and social intellectual areas of life. Yet my real education did not begin till the day that I found God. I have, in fact, learned more about the real business of living in 4 days at an Oxford Group School of Life than in any 4 years of my previous history. That is because it is a school in which God is the instructor and human teachers but his instruments. It is a school in which all instruction is guided by God in relation to the deepest needs of its pupils at their present stage of growth. It is a school where old lives are made new and where new lives are matured in truth. It is a school where we learn to treat the physical world with a moral emphasis, as God would have us. It is a school where we learn to deal with the social world creatively and redemptively, as Jesus Christ would deal. Finally, it is a school, and the only such school I know, which enters effectively into that third department of living, which ushers us into the presence of God, and which teaches us how to live and grow there. Were the principles of the Oxford Group School of Life extended into institutions of learning, then applied religion or application of God in all of one's life activities, situations, and relationships would become the backbone of each curriculum. The chief course in science, for example, would be the science of finding and using spiritual power for all of life's accomplishments, a subject in which the Steinmetz declared we have reached only a Benjamin Franklin or kite string stage of knowledge. History would tend to show the calamity or inescapable frustration that comes upon all races, peoples, rulers, or subjects who rely on self-determination and seek to work out their own salvation unguided by God. Sociology would show the futility of trying to build society around any center but Christ. Economics would teach the limitless quest of soul growth as life's fundamental aim, relegating the quest of wealth and other limited possessions to their rightful place as a mere supporting activity in life's real program. Psychology would seek not simply to apply aptitudes in choosing a vocation, but to apply the pleasure experience of surrender to God as a motive in following these vocations. Political science would teach the sovereignty of God's will, replacing human desire as the basis of good government. Philosophical and religious studies would jump to life and become a mainspring of living rather than a mere calisthenic for the mind. On the physical side of education, the athlete's training would be to extend to all students, since the desire to serve God brings the companion desire to keep physically at top notch for his service. And on the social side, helpful sharing of experience and new truths discovered would replace pointless debating societies, while fellowship in Christ would be substituted for clubs that are founded merely on the affinity of kindred checkbooks and spirits. The whole, like an Oxford group social school of life, would offer us real preparation for our three-phase business of life. While waiting for such schools to grow as the number of God-guided lives increases among educators and students, it may be interesting to trace guided and surrendered individuals through some of our existing schools. Even with no change in the curriculum or staff, a surrendered and God-conscious student can gain much more from the present modes of education than any of his pagan friends. There is, first of all, the matter of choosing schools and finding the means to go there. I have seen youngsters in the Oxford group, for instance, select their schools or colleges not according to parental preference, not according to ideas of their own, but according to the direct and often amazing guidance of God. This guidance sometimes leads to most unexpected institutions that neither student nor parent had considered. At other times, God shows the opportunity for attending leading universities that the student had considered beyond hope. In one case, due to depression, a young man had given up all idea of going to college. Then God told him that he ought to go, told him where to go, and told him where to find the money. This is not an unusual occurrence. It is only one case in many. Once in school or college, moreover, the guided student finds the right selection of studies, and he finds a greater ability to study. A certain sharpening of the mind, such as I have tried to describe in my own experience. He finds himself able to attack the most intricate studies and to master subjects that have always been a bugbear. He finds moreover that God does not let his studies suffer as sometimes happens. He diverts him temporarily to other details of his work. God does not let his studies suffer when, as sometimes happens, he diverts him temporarily to other details of his work. At a later stage in life, we find men and women who have completed their education on an unguided basis, as I had, and who, on their surrender, are sent back by God to attend the schools he wanted them to go to in the first place. I have in my mind a sales engineer who had been out of college for 6 years and a lawyer who had practiced his profession for 13 years. God told him he wanted them both in his ministry, and they obediently started in the theological college. A little further along, we come to my own stage of education. 20 years or more out of college, with 10 or more years elapsed since our last go at Dr. Eliot's 5-foot shelf of books. It is too late to go back to school, perhaps, but not too late to start in school again under the tutelage of God. God today is teaching me directly through my daily quiet hour in the morning, and indirectly through passages in the Bible that he indicates, through the books he guides me to read, through the group meetings and schools of life he guides me to attend, through the rich experiences he leads me into, and through the difficulties he uses to develop my moral fiber. In this instruction, he brings me down to the very essentials of living. He wastes no words in superfluidities. He tells me what I am living for, and there is no mistaking it. He tells me where I fail to live this way. He tells me what is the matter and how to correct it. He tells me how to add to my stature physically, mentally, and spiritually. He directly reverses most of my previous ideas on physical, mental, and spiritual values. He gives me a whole new set of values and shows me how to select from an ocean of possibilities that one thing needed at the moment to live according to his plan. He is teaching me, meanwhile, to make a living, not by selfishly getting the better of the other fellow, nor by fitting into society without trespass on others' desires. He is teaching me to live by his desires, and that what he supplies is always plenty. In the social area of life, he is teaching me what to do for my mother, sister, wife, and children that will help them grow in soul. He is showing me what human teachers to go to and how to teach myself. He is teaching me how to get along with my companions and associates, both those who know God and those who do not. He is teaching me to recognize almost at once the man in need who is longing to find God. He is teaching me what attitude to take towards publicists and critics who are molding the world's ideas, usually away from God. He is teaching me to know myself in the light of truth. He is teaching me to know his Son, and the Son, in turn, is teaching me to know ever more of God. Best of all, this education sticks. Where volumes of human advice and misinformation have poured in one ear and out the other, the guidance of God seems to wrap itself around my backbone and become an integral part of my character. It is education he has made not only mine, but mine for keeps. There we go. All right. I like that chapter. It's an interesting chapter because I've completely changed careers in my recovery. So that was a fantastic chapter. And it also reminded me about that quiet hour in the morning. So many writers write about it, and I've got to work on that for myself personally. I make it a point to practice meditation, but it's not always in the morning. It's not always for that length of time, but there seems to be something about a whole solid quiet hour in the morning that many people write about. So either way, though, fantastic chapter, great chapter about education today and what it points to there, which he talked about in the beginning, and what education should be oriented around, right? And redirecting from so much of the physical, material, sensual side of life to the spiritual and God-centered side of life. So thank you so much for following along with me. I appreciate y'all. Again, I appreciate the support and those who comment and listen. I greatly appreciate that. So we will be back next weekend with a review of this chapter. So until next time, thanks.